Hello everyone and welcome to part 25 of this series where we're finally going to be looking at putting endings in the game. Just as a disclaimer, you might assume this is the last episode of the series, and it is not, although we are steadily bringing this series to a close. It could be a couple more episodes, but this isn't the last one, just so you know. So our game's ending is going to work a little bit like our menu, enough like our menu that in order to set the basis for it, we're going to duplicate our menu. So I'm going to right click, menu, hit duplicate. We've got a copy of the menu screen, and I'm going to call this our ending as the room in which the game will end. And we're going to bring it down to the bottom of here just to keep it in that kind of order. So we're going to go from room level 3 to our ending. Okay, I think I've got all of this already set up from when I was planning this earlier, but if you go into level 3, make sure you've got a trigger area in here. What layer was that on again? I should probably make those layers better named. But make sure you get your level end object, go to creation code, make sure you're targeting the right room. So this is, you see, its target is our ending, so that when we hit this object in level 3, we will move from level 3 to our ending room. Now at the moment our ending room is literally just a copy of our menu, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to get rid of the title up here. In fact, I'm going to get rid of everything, all the objects in this room other than O camera. So let's get rid of O menu, O transition we definitely don't need, O game we definitely don't need another copy of. I'm just leaving O camera here. Okay. And then in the title assets over here where we've got S player and S gun, what we're going to do is we're going to move them to the far left of the screen, and we're going to have them sort of like slowly run into the middle using some code, okay? As part of kind of our fun ending cutscene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these to x equal 0 on here, okay? So just do that with them. Gun x0, okay? And there's some more stuff with that, I'll come back to that in a second. I'm going to lift everything up a bit, actually, because I'm going to put some black bars just at the top and bottom, just to give it that kind of cutscene feel. So I'm gonna go to, first of all, our dirt layer, which we have a Y offset of 672, and if you've changed yours, if you've set up your game specifically and you've customized all the backgrounds and stuff that you've got going on, maybe you haven't done the exact same thing I do, and then obviously these numbers aren't going to be of use to you. But if you've been doing everything exactly as I've been doing it, here are the numbers I'm going to use for this. Okay, so I'm going to move the dirt height from 672 up to 554, not 553, 554. There we go, so let's brought that up. Bring the trees up to 182 from 300, and the mountains up to 82. These are just numbers I worked out myself earlier as being correct. So you see at the moment we've got some trees sticking out the bottom here. That's fine, because we're going to draw black bars over the bottom and over the top. Okay, and just sort of create this scene in the middle where we're going to then draw some text that's going to sort of narrate what happened to the player after the end of the game. Okay, let's move these guys up as well. So I'll go to title assets. Let's just select you two. Just bring you up to, if I hold control I can get you off the grid. There you go, let's put you there. Let's just make sure that X is set back to 0 exactly. Should have probably done that a second. Well, so that those are 0 there. The other thing I want to do is select S gun again on this asset layer. So these aren't objects, remember, these are just sprites. But I'm going to give this one a name in here. So you see at the moment it gets a default name of graphic underscore a bunch of stuff. But what we can do is by giving this a specific name, we can grab it in our code later, because when we get to this ending, we don't know if the player ever actually picked up the gun in the beginning or not. So we're going to make this gun appear or disappear based on whether or not we picked up the gun. So I'm going to give this a name. Since this is a graphic, and I don't think we have anything else starting with G, I'm going to call it G gun. Okay, that can be its name. That can be our naming convention for graphics that we want to play. Feel free to rename the player one if you want as well, but I don't actually need to refer to that in code in any way, so I don't really care. It can have whatever unique name it started with. And once that's named and once this is set up, this is everything we need for the basic setup of the ending room. So if I click this play button up here in the room editor, we can see this plays the animation nice and smoothly. Just exactly the same, because it's set up exactly the same way as our menu is set up. But before we go and do anything else with this, we need to add an exception into O camera to make sure that these layers scroll as they are scrolling here, and doesn't try and scroll with the player, which isn't even in the map. Okay, so if we go to O camera, go to step update camera, just at the bottom here where we said, oh, I've already done it. Okay, so at the moment it will only say in your project if room does not equal our menu, you want to add and room does not equal our ending to this line. Okay, just to make sure that this stuff here that would do our parallax with the mountains and trees based on the player, or rather based on the camera position, which is also based on the player, only happens when we're in one of the main game rooms, and doesn't happen when we're on our ending, where we've set it up manually and specifically. Okay, so now that we've got all that set up, we can close our ending. We don't need to do anything else in that room, and we can go ahead and make our ending object. Okay, this is going to be, we're going to have one instance of this object, and it's going to control everything about our game ending. Let's call it O ending. Don't need to take anything else in here, invisible sprite, etc. Add event, add the create event. Okay. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do in here is get the ID of that gun sprite that we have on our title assets layer. Okay, and we can do that by making a variable. I'm going to call it gun sprite equals layer underscore sprite underscore get underscore ID. And that turns yellow. And then we just need to provide the name of the layer and the name of the sprite element, which is what we set a minute ago to be ggun, right? So the layer is title assets, in quotation marks, and the name of the sprite is gun, again in quotation marks. Again, you can get kind of, for this one at least, you could get that and turn it into a layer ID rather than providing the name, which is in theory faster if you ever want to refer to that multiple times, but we're only referring to it the once, so we don't need to really worry about that speed boost. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is determine what lines of text we're going to have show on the screen during our game ending. Okay, so what we're going to do is very, very similar to O text. We're going to have some text come up on the screen, printed one letter at a time, but instead of just showing the one line of text, and this is something some of you had asked how to do, is how to do multiple lines of text, we're going to draw multiple lines of text. So we'll draw one, and then like you'll be able to press a button and go to the next, and press a button and go to the next, and so on. Okay, so in order to do that, we're going to create an array with all the different text entries that we're going to cycle through. Okay, and that's going to depend on a few conditions depending on how we played the game. So if global.hasGun is true, okay, or I mean you could say equal true just to be super explicit, and global.kills greater than 0, open bracket, close bracket. Okay, so if we have the gun and we've killed at least one dude, end text, open square bracket, 0, close square bracket, equals, and then we can put some text in there for what that's going to be. Okay, and then I'm just going to copy and paste this line, and we'll fill them out one at a time, and we're going to do about like 7 of these. So from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 7 entries, starting with the entry 0. So entry 0, I'm going to write, and on this day our hero had slain, space, that can be one string, and I'm going to add string, open bracket, global.kills, so that'll insert the number of kills, and that's why we put a space in here as well, so there will be a space there, and then the number of kills, and then plus another string, another space, people. Okay, so that's how we do a string, and also incorporate a variable into that string, so that it will vary based on the number of people we've happened to kill. All right, string number 1 can be but some of those people had guns too. So line number 3, he was probably saving the world or something. Line 3, regardless, he was arrested 2 days later and spent the rest of his life in prison. So this is the dark ending, right? The defense team tried to argue that the sexy recoil effects and hit flashes were to blame, and I'm going to do a comma and a \n for a new line. And I'm not putting a space in here, that's important. It'll read a little weird, but you have to do it. But to no avail. Full stop. I suppose the park, yeah, let's say the park ranger would later state she was, yeah, so if I want to do a quotation mark, so you might wonder how to do a quotation mark without actually ending the string itself. Well, you can do that by doing / and then a quotation mark. Okay, so it like escapes the character. So that means you can keep writing a string without the quotation mark actually ending the string. You can see the yellow is still going on because we put these / in here. Okay, so if you want to put a quotation mark in a string, you just put a / before it. So the park ranger would later state that she was not angry, just disappointed. Have I spelled disappointed right there? I think so. Full stop, end the quotation mark, and then another quotation mark. Okay. I think that's right. And then text 6, the end. Okay, so there's our ending for that one. Oh, but I suppose that's going to look weird if we've only killed one person, right? Slain one people is a weird line. So let's do end if global dot kills is 1 and text 0 equals, and on this day our hero killed a guy for no reason. Sure. Okay, so that's our first ending's worth of text. Then else. So by elsing this, we're checking that either one of these isn't true. So assuming you either didn't take the gun or you didn't kill anyone. Okay. I suppose you might want to do a fun different ending for if you took the gun but didn't kill anyone, but I'll leave that to you if you really want. But assuming that kills a 0 or has gun is true, is false even, this ending will happen. So layer sprite destroy gun sprite. Okay, because we've got the specific element ID of a sprite that was on a layer, which was ggun. We put that into gun sprite. Okay, so that ID points at that exact sprite on that layer. So by doing layer sprite destroy, it finds a sprite on an asset layer, or just a sprite on any layer. You can actually put them on any layers, but in the room editor you can only put them on asset layers. Finds that, and we'll just get rid of it. Okay, and text 0 equals, so we'll set up a few of these. How many? We'll just do a handful. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure. On this day, our hero had a wonderful, serene walk through a national park, new line, and didn't even murder anyone. Impressive, right? They reported a discarded firearm to the local authorities. Another new line there, and were thanked profusely for assisting in an ongoing criminal investigation. Sure. So you can put whatever you want in these, by the way. I'm just sort of making this up. So, and all it took was behavior that outside of a video game context one would hope is completely normal. So, who would have thought? We'll just leave it there, actually. The end. I'll get rid of this one. So one limitation of this I should point out, by putting in hard coding all this text into the code of our game, this is something if you wanted to localize a game later you would end up having to dig out Okay, so you would then have to load in. It's actually not too difficult of a thing to do, but it can be a bit of a slog. So if you want to prepare for it from the beginning, I guess what you can do is for all strings like this that are text that are going to show up in your game that you're going to want to localize later, you'll want to build in a system whereby you load them from a file, like an ini file tends to work well for this kind of thing, or a text file and so on. I've got other videos on doing that kind of thing that you can look into. But I'm not too fussed about localizing this silly little game, so we're just going to hard code in the text. But if you weren't doing, rather than just putting the text in here, you would put them in a file, load those things from a file into variables, and you would put those variables into here, because then you could vary either the file that you loaded or whatever in order to get strings of different languages. Okay, just thought I'd mention that for you, just in terms of the long-term design of a game. Okay, so this covers our two main endings in here. So then I'm going to set up some variables that we mostly had in the text object. Okay, you'll remember most of these. So spud equals 0.5. That's how fast the letters are going to reveal themselves on the screen. Letters equals 0. That's how many letters we're currently showing of the string. Current line equals 0. So that's, which one of these end text things that we're currently on. Length equal string length end text open square bracket current line close square bracket close regular bracket semicolon. So that'll get the length in letters of our first line for the ending, whichever one it happens to be, in characters, so that we know where to count up to. And text that we currently show to the screen is just going to be nothing, and then we're going to slowly build that up and wipe it every time we go to a new line, etc. Okay, so with our ending text set up, the role of the gun sprite decided one way or the other, and our variables set up to control the text, let's move on to actually progressing the text and making things that need to happen gradually happen. So right click and go to add open event, add the step event, just the regular one. And we're going to open with move player towards center. Okay, and so we're going to take those. In fact, we're going to take that whole layer, that title assets layer, and move it towards the center. So we're not going to move that one player sprite, because if the gun exists, we also want to move the gun. So if I just move the entire layer, that does everything we want to achieve. So it's quite handy. Layers, they're really cool. So layer underscore x equals. Not equals, sorry, layer x, open bracket. Yeah, it's not like a variable that we set to be something, which is how you tend to work with x's, so I know it's a bit weird. It's just layer underscore x, and that is a function to just set the x coordinate of a layer. So the layer that we want to move is title assets. Again, I suppose at this point, it technically would be faster and more efficient to, in the create event, actually get the ID of the layer title assets, but it's kind of a minor performance thing. It's not going to be a problem for us. Again, getting things working and keeping it simple has a lot of value, so that's what we're going to do in here. But if you really are interested in making this more and more efficient, consider taking out the text reference to the layer name, going to create and doing like a layer get ID. Okay, you can look that up and how it works in the manual, etc. Type the layer name in here, put it in an ID, put that into a variable, then use that variable in here instead. Okay, a little bit faster because GameMaker doesn't have to work out which layer this is every single time from that point onwards. All right, anyway, but layer X for title assets is we're going to set that to whichever is smallest, so min out of layer get X, so especially since we're doing it twice, title assets plus 1. Okay, so either that plus 1 or just whatever the center of our screen is, which is going to be res w times 0.5. Okay, so remember that's the width of our resolution times 0.5. Oh wait, actually, yeah, also minus 32. So this is a weird little caveat based on how we set our camera up. So if we go to our ending, because of how our camera works to try and allow itself to do screen shake, it like creates a buffer for itself of 32 pixels at the edge of the screen, you might remember. And because of the order it does that, the camera actually ends up like 32 pixels like off to the left, I believe, just because of the order it happens. So if we only then moved him to like half the screen, he'd actually be slightly over halfway on the screen, despite actually being in the center of the room, just based on how the camera is positioned and everything in this. So it's just a weird little nuance of how we've set the things up, that we have to just add a little -32 in there, okay? It's not too big of a deal. Let's close all those brackets. I think that's all of them. Yep, the red thing's gone away, so I hope it is. And then that moves the player towards the center, and the gun, if the gun happens to be there as well, because it's moving that whole layer. Alright? Okay, so with that out of the way, let's actually advance the text that we're supposed to be showing. So progress text, or advanced text, whatever you want to say. Letters plus equal SPD. So this is very much the same as our text object, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Text equal string, copy, end text, current line, starting from the first letter, and then floor, letters, close them brackets. Okay, so then that gets more and more and more of the letters every single frame. Next line, so this is how we progress from one line to the next. So if letters greater than or equal to length, so it means we've reached the end of this line, and keyboard check pressed VK any key. So I'll return any key we press on the keyboard will do it. Open curly bracket. So if current line plus 1 equals array length 1D end text. Okay, so if that's true, then we know we've actually reached the end of our end text, okay? Because if our current line measures what we're on, so if our current line gets to be 7, then we know that there's not going to be an array entry for end text 7 in here, because we've got the length of the array in here. So if that's the case, is that the only thing? Yeah, it's the only thing we need to put there. So if that's the case, we're going to slide transition to restart the game. Okay, we finished the game, we've shown all the text on there, then we're just going to slide transition, send you back to the main menu. Okay, end of the game. Slide transition, trans mode dot restart. If you remember, that's how our fancy transition system works. Else, if we're not at the end of the array, then we cycle to the next entry in the array. So current line plus plus letters equals 0, length equals string, length end text, open square bracket, current line, close square bracket, close bracket, semicolon. Okay, and then just wrap these in the curly braces. All right, oh yeah, get rid of that extra one at the bottom, and then that's it. That's all we need. Just move from one line to the next. It's really quite simple. It's just people have been asking how to do it with the text thing. You can very easily edit the text object to support multiple lines, just by saying, like, you plunk an array into it. Say once you've reached the end, if you're at the end of the array, so that would work even if it was only one entry. Go to the next, and if there's more entries in the array, then just go to the next one by resetting all of this and increasing the index that you're looking in the array, or do whatever you want to do when the sign is over. Okay, or just delete the object or whatever for row text. Okay, so that's how you do multiple lines of text in something showing text on the screen. Last but not least, we want to actually draw this stuff to the screen. Okay, so I'm going to right click, add open event, go to our good old friend, the draw GUI event. Alright, so this event's pretty simple. We're going to draw those black rectangles I was talking about earlier to the screen, and then we're just going to draw the text. Okay, so draw set color C black, draw rectangle 0 0 as the x and y to start with, res W 128 false. Okay, and draw rectangle 0 res h minus 128 res W res h false. Okay, so that'll draw a rectangle over the top of the screen, filled in because we set outline false, and this will draw one at the bottom of the screen. So 0 res height minus 128. It'll be 128 in height each one. Okay, and then that's the full width of the screen. and again, full height of the screen for the bottom corner. Okay, so that's simple for those rectangles. And then we're just going to draw our text. I'm going to do draw set text, our script from before, C_black, F sign for the font that we're going to use, FA center for the alignment, and FA top for the vertical alignment. And this first line of text we're going to draw is going to be that little offset shadow. Okay, that's why we've set the color to be black. So draw text, open bracket, res _w times 0.5, so center of the screen, x position wise, +2, comma, okay, because that's going to be our little 2 pixel offset. And then res _h times 0.3, so like 33% down the screen vertically, well 30%, not 33%, +2, again just that 2 pixel offset. And text is the string that we're going to draw, because that's where the string that we've been progressing. Okay, and then all I need to do is set the color to be white. Draw set color. I'm using both spelling. Use whatever spelling you want. I don't really care. I mix and match because I'm an idiot. See white. Let's make them both the same, even though that's the wrong spelling. But whatever. Draw text. Res w times 0.5, not +2, res w times 0.3, not +2, text. Okay, and that's all there is to it. I've been really inconsistent in my spacing there. I've been adding spaces to some but not others. Let's add a space to every single one. Okay, so every time we do a comma, let's put a space in there. Let's try and at least make this one event script look kind of consistent, okay? If you're smart, you'll make all of them consistent. But I'm not smart, so they're not consistent. There we go. They all look okay. And let's make those both color as well. It's our last event of the video. Let's make it look kind of like it's written by a reasonable programmer. Okay, so that's that's all we need to do. So that'll work now. So let me, I'll skip ahead in the video, but I'm just going to get to an ending where, I will get to each ending and I'll show them off. Okay, so here we are towards the end of the game. 7 pointless murders. All I just need to walk through here. So we got the gun, we killed a bunch of people. So I come through here, it checks those various globals, and it tells us, and on this day our hero had slain 7 people. But some of those people had guns too, so he was probably saving the world or something. Regardless, he was arrested 2 days later and spent the rest of his life in prison. There's a typo there, I forgot to put the word and, but whatever. The defense team tried to argue that the sexy recoil effects and the flashes were to blame, but to no avail. The park ranger would later state she was not angry, just disappointed. The end. And then we'll get like a slide transition, goes over there, and restarts the game. Nice and simple. Now let me show you the other ending. So here we are, we haven't killed anyone, we don't have the gun, we don't have any kills. Okay, so let's go through here. And on this day our hero had a wonderful serene walk through a national park and didn't even murder anyone. They reported a discarded firearm to the local authorities and were thanked profusely for assisting in an ongoing criminal investigation. And all it took was behaviour that outside of a video game context one would hope is completely normal. Who would have thought? The end. Simple as that. The guy doesn't have the gun, as you'll notice in the scene, because we checked to see if he had the gun and he didn't, so we got rid of that asset. And then we'll do the same thing, just slide the thing over the end, and that's the game. So there you go, there's our 2 endings. If you can try, I suppose, to get the really difficult ending. It was really hard to do. I didn't actually manage to, I tried a few times, I couldn't do it, to get the gun, not kill anyone, and get to the end of the game. That's really difficult, but if you do, in theory, what should happen is you should get the good ending, but the character should still be holding the gun on the screen. So I'll leave it to you to decide if you want anything else to happen there, or you can do whatever you want. Now the power is in your hands. Thank you very much for watching. There are still some things we're going to do to this game, which is going to add a few little polishing touches here or there, just to things like the guns and stuff like that. I don't think we're really going to add anything new, no new features or anything like that, but we're just going to do some cleanup. Okay, we're going to make some things look a little prettier, work a little better, and feel a little better. Okay, so I hope you've been enjoying the series. Hope you've enjoyed the series, because it's mostly come to the end. We're just going to clean up a few little loose ends, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Of course, this series would never get finished if it wasn't for the help of these lovely people via Patreon. These guys get their names in the credits, they get access to the videos early, and they get access to all of the source code and behind the scenes stuff in exchange for a bit of money that helps me continue to do this work and continue to make free videos for everybody. A huge shout out in particular, and in no particular order, to Bowser the Dog, Dan, Harold Guidry, James Grumley, Jason McMillan, Jason B, Kimo Savalampi, Mark Lintz, Matt Coate, Michael Ward, Mike KB, Nick Slavish, Owen Morgan, Patrick Guffey, Robert Churches, Rovan Darlan, Run, Shaunathan, Stephen Hagen, Toby, TJ, Turtle Time, Zephyr Flame, and Zinan May. Thank you all so much, and thank you for watching. I will catch you guys next time.